So taking a look back here at growth and decay, we're going to take a look at a couple of situations. The first one where we don't have any shifts. So typically when we go to do graphs of these, but before we do that, before we punch it in the calculator, can we figure out just by looking at the equation if this is going to be growth or decay? Okay, decay, why? You're right. What's my b value? Well, now here, since they're the same, that's a little trickier to ask. Since my b value is between 0 and 1, okay, and we'll even get this back up here. If b is between 0 and 1, that's going to be decay. And if b is greater than 1, typically that's going to be growth, with one exception that we've talked about before, and that's if this is a negative x. Then it flips or becomes the reciprocal of what we thought it was. So since b is 1/3 here, we know before we get going that it's decay. So we know it's going to be coming down to the right. Name the y-intercept since there's no shifts. Okay, so let's see here. No shifts. I'll try to stay in order here and stay focused. Okay, my y-intercept, we've talked about a couple of ways I can do this. If there are no shifts, it's going to be my a value. So my y-intercept would be 0, 1/3. Because anytime we're looking for a y-intercept, the x value is going to be 0. And once we pull it up on the calculator, I'll show you where you can find it there too. But again, if we're trying to get some of this, we can get that done this way. And domain and range we'll wait on for a second. Just because that, I don't blame you for wanting a picture. So, we'll get our y equals going here. And even though I don't have parentheses around here, we're going to get that in here. So 1/3. Again, anytime we got a fraction, we want it in parentheses. Times 1/3 of the x. So once I get there, we'll take a look at the picture first, just to make sure my guess that it was decay is correct and that I'm not imagining things. Okay, there it goes. Again, hugging the x-axis. It doesn't go down, down, down forever. That'll come into play here in a minute. Bless you. And so when I look at my chart, I start looking for some values that I can actually plot. So I'm like, okay, -3, 9, -2, 3, and -1, 1. And then I get to the one that means something to me. If I wasn't sure about the y-intercept before, here's where I figure it out. Wherever the x value is, the y value there is my y-intercept. And 0.33333333 is 1/3. But I'll notice as I keep going down, just like we did before, we get really close to 0, because there's that e again, which we know is really, really close to 0, but we never quite get there. So when I'm graphing this, it's critical that my graph isn't going below the x-axis. I'll be watching like this for this like a hawk when it's the quiz. If your graph starts coming down in here, it's going to get zapped. So we want to make sure we're okay with that. And then my domain and range, which is my only thing left. My domain, this is going to keep stretching outward as it goes up, so it's going left forever. And we can see also here it goes right forever. This is the easy one with these, because it's always going to be that. Shift doesn't matter. No shift doesn't matter. That's going to be my domain. My range, however, also has some consistency. Okay, we're going up forever. Not a problem there. But I don't go down forever. At least not on a normal graph, I don't go down forever. So as I look at this, what value are we getting really, really close to? Well, we've talked about it here. Close to 0, closer to 0, closer to 0, closer to 0. And I can even see it on my graph here. Here's where I'm getting close to. What line is this? The x-axis is when y equals 0. And I get my value that way. So that would be kind of my outline of anytime that I'm dealing with this when there aren't any shifts, either up in my exponent or on the end. Well, what if there are? Good question. We'll take care of that down here with doing number 3 as our second example. Then I'm going to kind of get out of the way here. So I get down to number 3 and I start looking and I'm like, okay, my b value, again, is the one that has the x exponent going to it, is 2. Well, we just got done up top saying if it's greater than 1, it's typically going to be growth. So that gives me a little idea of what I should be getting into. So let's see here. Name the shifts. Okay. Reminders. And I'm going to put that, where do I want to put that? We'll put it down here at the bottom. When I'm dealing with shifts on these, actually, let's do it right up on this. Anything in the exponent is going to be my left and right shifts. But again, it's the opposite of what we think it would typically be. So plus is going to be left, minus is going to be to the right. And then any values on the end that aren't in the exponent are going to be my up and down shifts. And they stick to what they normally are, because when we look at it in the general form, it's plus that last value. So when I go to name the shifts, name the transformations, looks like we're looking at right 2 and up 1. Now when I graph it, I'm going to use the chart anyway, but when I go to do domain and range, that might help me see a few things. Can I do my y-intercept right away? Is my y-intercept just going to be 5? No, because I've shifted some. So this is probably all the information I'm going to get before I can need the calculator's help a little bit here. So I type this in. Caution on these is going to be, as I'm typing, that plus 1 isn't up here, okay, in my exponent. I've got to make sure I arrow right to get back down. Because if I leave it up there, that's going to do a different shift than I want. So once I make sure, okay, let's take a look at the picture first. And I notice a couple things. First, I notice it's growth. Good, I thought it was. I also notice it's not hugging the x-axis anymore. And if I take a third kind of look, I was thinking before the y-intercept might be at 5. That ain't way up at 5. That's down here closer to 2. So that's where the shift comes into play. So I pull up my chart. I start plotting some points here again that I can fit. So let's see here. 311, 2, 6, 1, 3.5, 0, 2.25. And I start to notice as I go closer that I'm getting closer and closer to 1. So that's going to kind of be my do not cross line here. Do I have to draw it in? No, but it might be a good idea just to remind me. Okay, I'm not going all the way down to the axis this time. So I've got my graph. So let's see, what's next on the list here? Name the y-intercept. Okay. My y-intercept, again, I just go to where x is 0. And whatever that y value is, I get that on there. Okay, so again, I can always get that from there, whether there's a shift or not. And then finally is going to be my domain and range. So I get that ready to go. Now hopefully we remember from up top, domain is the no-brainer. It's going left and right forever. But range typically is 0 to infinity. The infinity part's not going to change, but it's not 0 anymore. Well, why is it not 0 anymore? Because range is my up and down values, and I've had an upshift. Whatever this shifts up or down is what my range is going to be. Okay, so notice, left, right doesn't change my range. Only up, down. So if this is down, it goes with it. If this is up, this goes with it. And that's what we're looking for. Okay, so there's 3 more on here for you to kind of play with. There's keys up front. You've also got the review that you can kind of start to take a peek at, but we're going to deal with that next time we get together. Keys up front for that as well. So use your time today well to work on this. Maybe work on some of the application stuff that we were doing yesterday if you need to clean some of that up. But use the time well, and see me if you have any questions.